And we're live. So, ITB 2022 recap. Here we are. So, this last week in Houston, Texas, we had Into the Box again. You guys happy to be back in Texas again after a couple years where we had the COVID stuff?
We were there in Texas last year.
Yeah, I wasn't.
We weren't.
True.
We missed
You were,
you very much. It was so good to have you back after, you know, missing you.
that's for sure. It was good to have more of the whole team back, that's for sure. Um, a little bit closer back to normal. Coming out of COVID. Definitely hasn't been the same.
Yep. Well, this year, obviously, we had a good year. It was a great turnout. We had twice as many people online as we did last year, which was a big plus, too, because as many virtual conferences going around, I think that was a big win for us. But the most important thing is that May 2023 is the next End of the Box. So, everybody, we want to give you guys plenty of time to know about it. So it's going to be in May 2023. So get your budgets, get your approval for travel, get everything ready. We're going to have a normal 3-day conference, so no excuses. So start planning now, and then we're going to get the final dates to you here very, very soon. But it's going to be in May. We've got that much sewn down. So back to our normal time. No competing with other conferences. Back to school. Back to school everything for college, elementary, high school. So I think life will be a lot better. So
Yeah, moving back to our May time slot will hopefully help out the schedule a little bit. We won't be hitting up against CF Summit and other stuff, so that'll be exciting. But it will make for a bit of a short year because it's not going to be a full 12 months before Into the Box. It's going to come a little bit early next year.
yep. So obviously, ITB again. The big deal is that next year's our 10th. Can you remember? I mean, can you believe it, Brad, that we've been doing this for 9 years now? We're going to have our 10th Into the Box next year.
It's crazy. The first year we had Into the Box, it was still kind of tied with a CF Objective, out in Minneapolis. And after just a couple of years, Luis was like, "We're gonna split off and do our own thing in Houston," and it was scary. Like, are we gonna have enough attendees? Like, will it work? And that feels so long ago now, by comparison. We've been
Yeah,
doing this for a while.
for sure. So I guess the first thing we should do really is get through and say thank you to all those people that made it possible, right? Because like the attendees, without the attendees, we wouldn't be doing this, right? This is what we're here for. We're here to try and spread great content to inspire and inform our developer community. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do is sort of empower and grow our CFML community. Because like that's what makes CFML great in our minds, and that's what keeps building all these tools is our community. And it was great to see so many speakers there. Like we had basically a 50-50 mix of Ortus and community speakers. So, and then next up, obviously, speakers. We can't do it without them. Again, we had a lot of good speakers. It's nice to have people from Adobe and Lucy, and then some of the community stewards like Charlie Earhart. Matthew Clemente's been at a lot of conferences lately, and he was there at the pre-conference too. But there's just a lot of great speakers there, and have someone like Nolan. I don't know if you guys have read it yet, but Nolan did a great recap of the conference too, and it's nice to have him speaking, but also attending, and so I think we're lucky to have that. But I mean, the other thing is sponsors. I mean, like, have you ever seen it like our conference with this many sponsors?
Yeah, I think we had probably the most we've had yet. So that's wonderful.
And we had some new sponsors that we've never seen before, so that's always
Yep.
nice to see. I like this year how we did the pre-conference ahead of time. So the week leading up into the box gave us an opportunity to showcase several speakers who couldn't make it physically into Houston. Some of them were from Europe and other places. And so instead of losing those talks that we couldn't get in, physically in person, we were able to still incorporate them into the conference as part of the content that the ticket holders paid for. I thought that was really cool. And I think that was your idea, Gavin. So good work on that.
Yeah, I wanted to give people more content, and then give them something to do on the plane on the way there. Sitting at the airport, give them something to do, and get hyped up, and get ready for the conference. And I think it worked out well because
So,
both of you guys are there in those meetings, the ITB committee, which, obviously a lot of work goes into the conference, but deciding on these talks, I mean, we have a lot of submissions and we got a lot of things that we want to talk about at Ortus, but it's hard to narrow down those topics, right?
Oh, it is. We always start with a huge list of topics and we want to do them all. And then we realize it's only a 2-day conference. There's
Yeah.
not enough time. So speaking of those pre-conference sessions, and apologies if I'm stealing any thunder you were going to talk about later on. For anyone who maybe went to the conference and they're thinking, I didn't get a chance to see all those pre-conference sessions, are those available already on CFcast to the ticket holders?
Yeah, and so that's the way we're doing it this year. So we've got them all up and loaded already. So if you registered for ITB, you should have got an email, and the subject in the email will say CFcast Access to Into the Box 2022 gift. So you have to claim the gift, whether you have an account or not. You can either create one or sign into one, but that basically attaches that private series just for your account. And so as a ticket holder, you got that access. Now I know a lot of people that are CFcast subscribers are wondering, well, when do we get it? Well, basically, we've got this exclusive deal for the people who actually, either attended in person or signed up online to get those videos. And so you'll be getting them as part of our 12 Days of Christmas. So later on in the year, we're going to be releasing all those available to all CFcast subscribers. If you've got a paid account, you'll be able to access all of those, and we're going to release them. And we had some ideas on how to do that. So we're thinking about all the cloud videos would be released on one day. All the content box videos are related to content box will be released another day, and some of the JavaScript reactivity ones will be another day. So we'll try and split them up and release them in groups, but you'll get those videos, and that way everybody can get all the content over the Christmas holidays. But you can still get those virtual tickets now, and even though the conference is gone, you can still get all those videos right away if you want to with a virtual ticket. So reach out to us if you'd like to do that. But yeah, right now the videos are all up there. 31.5 hours of content is what we have out there on the CFcast series right now. It's just pretty scary, pretty crazy, but
31 and a half hours of content from just Into the Box only, right?
Into the Box and pre-conference together. Yep.
Wow. So if you don't sleep for a day and a half and you just prop your eyes open and get a big old cup of coffee, you can just boom, watch it all in one sitting.
Yep, that's how John did it, right?
Not recommended.
No, yeah. So we try to make sure we got those out as quick as possible, and we really want to make sure that everyone can watch those sessions because I was in one room working, and I know Brad, you were in a different room working the event. So
Yeah,
we missed half the sessions.
yeah. I didn't see any sessions in your room, and you didn't see any in my room. Got a lot going on. So
Yep.
tell me, Gavin, does this CFcast content include the mariachi band that showed up to Happy Box?
No, it didn't.
Oh, so you're telling me that there's still unique content that only in-person attendees were able to access?
Yep. I mean, we may make a little compilation and put some of those videos up because I know I took a few videos. Other people take some videos. The Happy Box is definitely a big one, but there's
But the mariachi band has to be experienced, though.
it's an experience, all right. I mean, we even pull in some of the what was it, the hotel manager or the
Yeah,
event
the
manager?
hotel manager was there, and he sang a whole song with the mariachi band. He knew all the words and just freaking belted it out. It was awesome.
2 songs. You sang 2.
Was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
He came back and did an encore later on.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, but I mean, there's obviously some big wins, attending a conference in person, and like virtual's great, but we've done virtual a lot lately because we've had to. So it was really nice to see some people just in person and loving it, and like the workshops themselves. You can't beat an in-person hands-on workshop in a small classroom setting with like an expert. I know, John, like you got amazing feedback from your workshop, right? Because you guys had a small group, but they got to actually get their questions answered real time from you guys.
Yep. And I think it was actually, I will probably recraft if we do a container workshop. I'll recraft it to a more advanced audience, because the people that were in that had already tried Docker. They weren't familiar with it, but they tried it, and so there were things we didn't need to cover. So yeah, we might be just going to the next phase of dealing with deployments and things like that. And we got to spend a good amount of time on that this time because the folks that were there were already familiar to some degree.
Yeah, and I think, we're slowly, as we build up more and more of these workshops, we're adding more to CFcast too. And actually for the CF Summit training me and Luis are doing soon, it's a Vue.js one, and we're basically trying to jump through all the cold box stuff, quickly. So we're going to make it available on CFcast for those attendees beforehand, so they can get that little recap topper. And so, same thing with your Docker, like the basics for the Docker, we can just provide as videos for like prerequisite material. If you know it, great. If you don't, here's a couple of videos you guys can watch to get up to speed. And that way, like you say, you can jump into those deeper pieces where it really does help them with that hands-on, practical experience. And, that's why people love those workshops so much.
Yeah, I really like the number of different workshops we were able to do this year. I don't know how the number compared to what we did in the previous years, but it really gave a lot of options for people to not just have a single, pre-conference training, but they had their choice. I was in the test box workshop and we had a good group of people in there, and I know that there was quite a few simultaneously happening. So I really enjoy us being able to, give more than just a couple options for the workshop trainings.
Yep. And like I said, Nolan was there this year, and he in his blog post had a quote too, and I'll read it out here. So, yesterday I got asked what session had the most value for me. While all the sessions were great, I got the most value out of a group conversation on Thursday evening over dessert, and another one with the same folks Friday morning at breakfast. We covered everything from stress to dealing with the pandemic, families, anxiety, how we're coping with everything happening in the world currently. It was probably the best conversations that I had all week, and it was very much worth the trip by itself. And like, you just can't beat that, right? I mean, it was really cool to see everybody in person, and rekindle old friendships, and make some new friends, and put a real face to those Twitter symbols that we see all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the best things, is meeting people from the community that I've known for years, but I maybe didn't even know what they looked like, and then you finally get to run into them at a conference. I had a couple people in my test box training like that, so super fun.
Yeah, and that hallway track, as we put it, is always great. Face to face with CFML developers, staying up on everything in the undercurrent of the CF space, and throwing ideas past people, because that's one thing I really love about this conference is it's a cozy conference. It's not one of those ones where you feel lost and you feel alone in a crowd, like it's one of those things where, everyone's approachable. There's lots of times to be able to meet with people and whole conversations, whether it's, between sessions, at the meals and everything else. But that was the other thing too. Like, the meals this year, I think is probably the best conference food I've had in a long time. I mean,
it was delicious.
Yeah, the new venue was fabulous. That was so much better than our previous venue. Had served us well for a few years and was starting to get a little old and not maintaining some stuff, and it was good to change locations.
Yep. Yeah, this new hotel location was really nice. Just the lobby and all the areas and tables they had to work on, and the conference, like just rooms themselves and the food they had. It was definitely a step up. So if you've been in the box before, know that the location has had a nice upgrade this year.
Yep, for sure. Yep, and David in the chat just said cozy is a great way to describe it.
It was funny because I go to some non-Cold Fusion conferences with Luis and people sometimes, just like big Java conferences. And it's a totally different feel. It's more like walking around an airport, right? Like, you don't know anybody, you don't look at them, you don't even make small talk sometimes unless you're just really friendly. At these big conferences, and you go to a Cold Fusion conference, especially some smaller ones like Into the Box, and it's more like a family reunion. You recognize most of the people, you're talking with people, you're having conversations with them in the hallway. And I really appreciate that feel.
Yeah, and one of the things that I thought was just really cool was that, at the end of it, people weren't saying, like, hey, see you later, bye. They were saying, hey, see you next year. Like, they don't even know what's happening, they don't know what's coming, but they're already like, see you next year. Like, they're gonna be back. It's kind of cool to see that type of response. And I mentioned David in the chat, like, he gave me like a really good review of my workshop and everything else, and we had a couple other reviews, and I mean, people just loved it. A lot of just in-depth detail, hands-on, and there's like, yeah, CF Summit's great and all, but it's like you just get that different level of content here. And like you said, CF Summit's in Vegas, a lot of people at the conference, but also a lot of people at other conferences all mixing together. Like, you can't tell wait, was that one from my conference? Are they from another conference? And unless they're wearing the shirt from the conference, you don't really know. So
one year, wasn't there another Dave Ferguson at a different conference, like down the hall, with like a Dave Ferguson name tag on at the same time Cold Fusion Summit was happening?
I didn't even see that guy, but that's pretty
I
funny.
mean,
if it
this is
did.
probably like 5 or 6 years ago or something. It was one of the earlier CF summits. I remember getting a picture, and it was somebody in the Cold Fusion community. Anyway, sorry, random story. But you're right, because we have a smaller, intimate in setting, and we have a lot of really good QA time, a lot of questions, and even on the workshops, people get to dig in and get a full day of training, which involves just kind of conversations to say, "Hey, I've always been confused about this. Can we talk about this for a minute?" Which is stuff you can't always, get in a smaller session or in a larger group. And so I really enjoy just the questions I get at the conferences. People come and they've had stuff they've always wanted to know about, and they're like, "Hey, while you're at my dinner table, can I ask you a question about command box?" And you're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I really like, about this, and the idea of like, just the pre-conference and everything else is just a way to try and get more content in there. But nothing beats coming to the conference, and next year again, it's going to be the 10th Into the Box, and we hope it's going to be the biggest, best yet. Travel restrictions and everything for internationals hopefully will get better, so we'll see some more of the international people coming back to it too. So we're really excited and hoping we keep growing that.
Well,
But
I don't know if most of the public realizes, but it fuels a lot of innovation at Ortus as we get ready to present on new technology. I mean, Brad, I think you had two command box, enhancements that were, targeted before into the box. And I know Stash Box, I did a lot of work on that to make sure it was ready,
Mm-hmm.
at least for the beta. So yeah, there's a lot of innovation that gets fueled with it. He's doing some new things with Cold Box 7 that probably wouldn't have been as urgent if it hadn't been into the box time.
Yeah, it's funny. Ortus is big enough now. I remember, in the early days, it was just 4 or 5 of us. We've got enough people all working on different projects that I honestly, I don't even keep up with everything going on. And I enjoy listening to our opening keynote, because I'm learning stuff like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know, John had done that with Docker. I didn't even know about these CB wire features that Grant's demoing. It's kind of cool to see everything. And
yeah,
I can think of a lot of enhancements and fixes that have gone into just command box and CF config that come out of into the box conversations when people come
hmm
up to me and they're like, "Hey, what if CF config could like write my NV file for me?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a good question." And now we have that feature. I never would have thought of that, but that's a conversation that grew out of into the box. So yeah, we get so much feedback from the community.
yeah,
Uh,
for
and
sure.
it's really good.
I mean, and obviously, we always want to show off some cool stuff. We want to make sure we got the latest and greatest for Into the Box. And then, I mean, I just can't believe how many new releases we had. So we had 8 new releases, and that's not. I mean, Stash Box we've talked about before, so I'm counting that as an update. But 8 new things we released basically for Into the Box. So this is my list. I'm not even sure if this is the same as yours, but Melee Search. Michael Bourne did a presentation on that. So it's an API wrapper for lightning quick simplified search engine. CB Commerce, John. So you presented on that too. So like you've been working on that for a while, and like it sounds like you've got like 3 or 4 modules that are wrapped up. You want to give us a quick 1,000-foot overview of that one?
Yeah, sure. CB Commerce it was a single module. It was a content box module in its initial inception, and it served the function. We actually developed it for a client. It served a great function at that time, but it really wasn't what we needed to be to work for a lot of legacy applications and things like that. So one of the projects I had this year was just ripping that whole thing apart. It's now 3 separate modules. One that's just the headless API and data module. Then there's an admin module you can plug in anywhere you want to, a UI module you can use if you want to, or you can roll your own template. So there's a lot of things and there's a lot more expandability and extensibility features that are built into this version. And right now it's in beta because there's still that content box wrapper. So that's the last thing I need to make sure happens is that you can install it in a content box and it just works. Or you can install each module individually, or you can install the master module, which just is the 3 modules into a cold box application. So the idea was to make it as flexible as possible, and I think I think we've done that. So I'm excited about it.
And that's great. There's been a lot of demand for that over the years. A nice, polished, professional, commerce module for Cold Fusion. And I would suspect if you're not using Coldbox and you have a legacy application, you would also be able to drop in a Coldbox skeleton just to bootstrap those modules up, and that could live alongside an existing application as well. I mean, so
Yep.
it's available to anyone who wants to look into it.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
And then we had CB file systems, so that's sort of the provider-based abstraction for your file system.
CBFS, yeah.
Yeah, CBFS. That was another one we announced. So, if you want to, change locally to storing on your local hard drive, but when you push to production, use S3, you can set it up so just like CBML services where you choose your provider based on an environment, you can do that now with the file system. You don't have to worry about going and putting if statements all through your code saying, if we're using S3, do this. If we're using file system, do that. That's great. And then Eric, Mr. Module himself, had a few new ones here too. So he had CB Playwright, so integration testing for your front end that runs from Testbox. Like that thing can take pictures and videos and all sorts of stuff as it runs through your tests. It's slick. And then CBQ, so a protocol-based queuing system for ColdBox. So,
But it's not the word queue; it's just the letter Q.
yeah, Eric likes this short and sweet. But yeah, I mean, so that basically gives you like a queuing setup, so you can, again, provider based, right? So you can do it on your database locally. But if you have a RabbitMQ system or something out in production, when you're in production, it's using the RabbitMQ, and you don't have to change all your code to work with different setups. It's just it'll handle that for you.
And that's grown out of some real actual need we had with client projects, as well. So
Yep, for sure. And then actually Dan Card built a couple too. So he actually had an error filter module that he did with a client, and then he built CF Scribe, which is a sophisticated log management sort of layer on top of Logbox to give you more options and more rules and filters, on a per request basis for your logging. And he did a pre-conference session on that too. So another two great modules. And then Brad, you had your command box issue, which you kind of showed off a little bit, and that one's it's up on your GitHub, but not on ForgeBox yet. But you and Scott are doing great things with that too.
yeah, I mean, I can publish it to ForgeBox. Right now, you can just clone the repo and run the task runner in the root. Yeah, Escher's named after MC Escher, the artist who would do the cool kind of optical illusion, paintings that would have repetitive, cool looking things. And it's basically a UI library for the console, which I've wanted to do for years just because it's retro and cool. But it has, helpers and libraries to basically manage the redrawing of the screen, the nested, layout hierarchies of, panels and sort of divs, if you will. You can create form controls. You can, custom build your own little widgets. So we demoed a couple dashboards in the keynote. One that was basically kind of like a C-top equivalent that would pull all your system performance, information, memory usage, CPU usage, and it would have a live updated dashboard with, boxes and graphs and charts. And, the idea is being anybody could, build some sort of UI based interface that's interacting with keystrokes, that's redrawing the screen, that's collecting user input. And I want to eventually fold this into command box's core, but right now it's a separate project we're playing around with. So you could definitely look at that if you want to. You mentioned it's on my GitHub right now. But it's just called Command Box Escher. You can, clone it and play around with it.
Yep, for sure. So then we also had a few updates too, like 10 different things. Sound like they got updates this this end of the box. So we had the Elasticsearch module got updated, CB Wire version 2 landed, and a couple more little updates since then. As we mentioned, ColdBox 6 recently had some updates, but ColdBox 7 is in the works, and so we got some information on all that stuff there too. ForgeBox 7 was just released as well, and we had a release to QB, so version 8.9 and Quick 5.1. CB Debugger 3. I think it's 3.1 now, but 3.x was released. John is always working on those command box Docker images and updating as we roll out all the engines. I mean, like, it's just great to see, and obviously we're having tons and tons of people download that too. You had some pretty impressive numbers up on those slides, John.
Yep.
Yeah, the Docker pulls are crazy. They've grown by leaps and bounds every year.
Yeah, I think we're probably on track where we're averaging now around 300,000 pulls a year. We're up to 1.4 million historically now, and it just keeps growing.
Yep, and obviously that pulls not just runs too, because once you pull the image, it's good for a while. So
Right.
so it just shows how many different people are using it too. And then, as you mentioned, Stashbox, and then DataBoss, which has been a commercial product for a long time. Luis just announced that we're open sourcing it as well. So
Yep.
he's been doing some updates on that, and that one's the open source version will be available on ForgeBox here soon.
Speaking of
So
ForgeBox, did you have that in your list as
yep,
one of the softwares that released?
yeah, ForgeBox 7 was one of the new updates there too. So
One one of the more invisible or behind the scenes, I should say, things that I am just super excited about in ForgeBox is something you and I talked about years ago, Gavin, and that is we've always tracked installations of ForgeBox, but just at a package level, right?
hmm
So, Adobe has, 300,000 installations or whatever. But now we've added the ability to track that on a per version level, which can really give you more of a timeline base. Well, we actually track every single installation now. So, the date it happened, what version was installed, and the fact that somebody installed it. And so we can actually, create graphs. In fact, Javi has some of these in development already. He'll be releasing soon, where you can look at the history of a package. You can see its popularity over time. You can see, how many downloads each individual version had. And as a data, nut, I'm super excited about that data to be able to kind of see the trending of packages and to be, expose that in the interface. And in addition to that, another sort of behind the scenes thing that we did in Command Box this last year was tracking installs. Not every time it just gets downloaded, from S3 if it's not in your local artifacts, but every time you install a package, even if it was already locally, we still ping and say, add one. We just installed one. And so now the numbers on things like, Adobe Cool Fusion engines and Lucy server engines are going to be a lot more accurate, because every time someone starts a brand new server they've never started, even if they already had that CF engine downloaded, we're still going to be able to see that, that was an installation of Lucy server 5.3.9 or whatever. So I'm really looking forward to a year from now, the super juicy statistics and data we're going to be able to have of, a full year's worth of data that's tracking every single download per version and every time a package is installed, not just when it's downloaded. Because that'll give us a lot of insights into just, the usage in the community, how many people are out there using maybe, older versions of Full Fusion. There's all sorts of good use cases, and that should excite anybody who's a package manager who writes open source packages and puts them out there on ForgeBox. All that data is going to be available to you as well.
yep, for sure. Yeah, so obviously we have a lot of cool modules and packages and everything that got released and updated, but we still had some other great news, and so we actually had information on a SaaS product we've been working on for quite a while now, and Timebox, the business management platform. So for all those people that are using FreshBooks that keep getting sick of all the issues and data loss and their increased billing every 6 months it seems like now, Timebox is here, and we're doing a private beta basically. First come, first serve, space is limited, but it helps with timesheets, client project management, invoices, quotes, payments, much more. But that's available. So Timebox at ortussolutions.com if you're interested in doing the private beta there. The whole Ortus El Salvador has been using it for a while. We're getting to the point where we're migrating the Ortus USA users over to. So, but Timebox BMP.io is a link for that, and yeah, it's gonna be really cool to have that up and running. Like it's one of those things that we always say, like we need some more like Coldbox and Cold Fusion apps out there that are actually being used by people. It's just one of those things where it's like we need some real apps to sort of show this off. And
Well, yeah, and that was exciting because I mean, we built it out of a need for software and our inability to find another software out there in the programming space that really did what we needed and did it the way we wanted it. But Timebox BMP will have the ability to be just a standalone turnkey product that we can sell, and make available to anyone, even if they don't give a flying crap that it's written in Cold Fusion. It'll just be a solution they can use that I think, like you said, will hopefully be just a good example of a solid, application written using completely modern standards and modern times, powered entirely by Full Fusion, just because that's our language and that's what it's easy to write stuff in. So I'm definitely looking forward to the Cold Fusion community helping, check this out and support it, so it can take over the internet.
yep, for sure. And it's one of those things, like FreshBooks was great when it was young and small and flexible and everything else, but over time things, they get bigger, they stale, and so it's good to have, something fresh and new. And obviously it's built by us for us as developers and consultants, contractors, and all that. So hopefully we're on the right path. So, and then TriCF, John, how much do you use TriCF?
I use it all the time. I mean, it's just, I mean, a lot of times what I use it for is testing out things for bug reports, or,
Hmm.
if I need something that's to look at something for cross platform, I'll just test those things out there. So, yeah, you can continue, Gavin. I'm really excited about what's going forward with that.
Yeah, so I mean, Abram Adams has been working on TriCF for a long time, and we're at the point where Ortus has reached out to Abram. He's working for a new company, gives him a little bit more time, and Ortus is going to support bringing TriCF to up and to basically what all the things we wanted it to do for all that time. He's had a long roadmap. Ortus has a wish list of things to do and improve, and so we've put together a roadmap together, and we're going to help bring TriCF forward, adding a whole lot more features and innovations, and as he said, give it an upgrade. It's had the same face for 10 years now. So for those who don't know, I'm going to share my screen real quick, but this is the TriCF we've had for a long time, but so we're going to be upgrading that. But there's a lot of things going into it. I know a lot of people wanted, the ability to include libraries really easily, have multiple files. So there's a lot of great things like that are coming. Going to improve the UI to make it more embeddable, and that's something that Ortus wants to be able to do for, like I know CF Docs and Lucy has TriCF and some of their docs you can run things, but we want to get it even easier to get up and running and run test suites. And I know Brad's like, I'd love to be able to write this code and say, hey, put in the matrices of all these different engines and like show me the output of all these different things, like
Oh,
those.
totally.
So
I mean, I have TriCF windows open like right now on my desktop because I'm looking at Lucy bugs. And every time I put in a Lucy bug, it's like, here's the code to reproduce, and here's the TriCF link. It's so useful. And yeah, there's so many ideas we have. Like, what if with one click I could say run this against Lucy and Adobe, and maybe these 4 Adobe versions, whatever, and show me the results all on the screen somehow. So yeah, we have all kinds of ideas. And Abram Adams was actually at Into the Box in person. He joked that TriCF is the only thing he's ever done in his life. That's all we give him credit for, apparently. But he was in our keynote talking about it, and I'm super excited because TriCF has just been bread and butter for me. And while I like CF Fiddle, but it's Adobe only, and I'm usually primarily looking to test code between the engines because I'm putting it in an Adobe ticket or a Lucy ticket, and I want to see how each engine handles it. So TriCF is still the go-to tool there. So taking away some of those lockdown stuff, some of the functions and tags you can't use, and just improving the sandbox. Security on that, the ability to run against multiple engines, to say include the Coldbox framework or have an entire workspace with multiple files. That stuff's going to be a game changer all over again, in my opinion.
yeah, for sure. And obviously with new technology, he's got a lot of support from Linode for the servers and everything. But with all the improvements of Docker and everything, we can really do a lot of cool things with the sandboxing. And I know the command box images are really flexible, but also there's a lot of people working. Like Pete Freitag's got that is it Tiny Box? I always forget the name of it.
Mini Box.
Mini Box, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, Mini Box is the little tiny mini Docker container that has the little Azul JDK. It's only like 40 megs, and it has Command Box Lite and Lucy Lite, and the whole container itself is only like 90 megs. And if you want to do like a full-on server with CF config and all the server stuff, I recommend the Ortus image. But if you just want to like run a task runner, like off in a vacuum in Docker, Minibox is a great solution for that. It's because it doesn't make any assumptions about what you want to do. You can just feed it a command to run. Yeah, I like Minibox.
Yep, it's pretty cool. But one of the big announcements we've got, and we made it into the box, it might have something to do with like this T-shirt and the logo you see on the screen there. So we've got a new CFML Rocks initiative that we've been working on, and basically it's trying to help market the power and viability of CFML as a first-class programming language. And we try to get a generic, more like CFML general logo, because Lucy or Adobe people always think one engine or the other, but CFML itself is cross-platform, cross-engine, and so we're basically working on that. And so we gave everybody a cool new T-shirt. We showed it off, and I'm gonna see if we can play this little video that we made too, because I thought it was pretty neat. Let's see if this works. oh well. But we have a cool little video. I'll have to post a link to it in the show notes for this and everything. But it's a pretty cool little video. But really, it's a new initiative. We got some new just general CFML logos. We got a bunch of cool Zoom backgrounds and everything too, so you can rock your CFML logos in that as well. Again, like the new shirts. And we gave everybody a shirt in addition to the Into the Box one. But really, the big thing is we're pushing this new site, and we're working on it right now, and it's going to have a lot of stuff in there. So the sort of just general CFML information, like what is CFML, why use it, who's using it, which everybody asks, like who else is using it, like, and there's tons of big companies, government organizations using it, and so we're going to try and share some of that information. Going to share information on case studies and how to get started, and have a links to all the learning resources too. But with the power of TriCF behind us too, we're going to try and make a really good on-site learning platform as well. So we're going to have the playground with all the TriCF stuff in there too, but we're going to have tutorials and cookbooks and documentations and Cohen's and everything there, but linking straight into TriCF to really give you the ability to run that code, see some code, run it, see what it does, and actually play through that. And like a long time ago, we worked with CFML Cohen's and Coldbox Cohen's and sort of the test-driven learning, and a little more tricky when you had to like clone the repo and go do all the stuff and set everything up. But these days with TriCF, and especially all the new features we're going to be building to TriCF, we'll be able to do some pretty cool things right in the browser, and get people up and running. I think that'll really help make it easier for people to try CFML and see all the things that we know is good about it, and make it easier to spread that and get people started with it. And so that's a big new initiative we're doing, because again, the more CFML uses, the bigger the community, the better everyone's is. So that's part of the reason why Ortus does so much for the community, building all these products. But we want to build the community too. So it's sort of a big giving back to the community, and hopefully we can continue growing CFML. So pretty excited about that. And then we had some other little things. So Brad, I know you're a big task runner person.
Love me some task runners.
So Luis also announced CB Task HQ. So this is basically something where we're going to be developing more of a centralized schedule task sort of setup, connecting different apps, the ability to play, pause, replay, tasks, audit logs, insights, and performance. So this is something we've been working on, because I know you do a lot of task runner stuff for people, but sort of orchestrating all of that and keeping it in one place across multiple, environments and everything has been one of those struggles.
Well,
so
to disambiguate here, the task runner feature in command box CLI is different from, wholly unrelated to cold box scheduled tasks, as Luis calls them. Yep. So my session into the box was about cold box scheduled tasks, which is a layer of really nice cold box conventions built on top of the CB Futures library using the scheduled executor stuff inside of Java. But the cool thing is you can make those play nicely together. You can use the scheduler stuff inside of a command box task runner to have a daemon that sits there and runs things. But yeah, so the task HQ, whatever the name was for it, it's basically a UI layer on top of the new cold box task schedulers. And so I had an entire session. There's this really nice DSL where instead of having to use your Cold Fusion engine scheduled task like Lucy or Adobe scheduled tasks, which can differ between engines, and they're kind of limited on how you can schedule them. You have to manage the configuration through that engine's XML files. The cold box scheduled tasks, you can just declare right as part of code inside your application. There's a scheduler.csc, and you can say, here's a closure, run this every Monday between 8 p.m. and 5 p.m. or 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., whatever. You can get all sorts of fancy, and then it just fires off a thread that just runs that at the appropriate time. And so the HQ module for that is basically the missing UI piece to be able to visualize what's going on, see when they ran, see when they're going to run next. And I'm excited about that because it's really nice to be able to kind of move into more of a code as configuration approach that's really independent of whether you're on Lucy or Adobe at all.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to that, and obviously there is that separation. But anything that gives you the visibility when we're moving to this Docker world, I mean, John obviously does a lot of Docker and orchestration, and any tool that gives you some oversight to some of that, is a big godsend, especially when you're trying to, just stay on top of things. And my thing for scheduled tasks is always, you fire and forget, and then what happens if they're not working, or why didn't they work? And so hopefully this will give you better insight into that and the logs and everything. So yeah. Was there anything else that the End of the Box had that we need to remind people of, or to inform people that weren't there? What do you guys? Anything else on your list? I think we covered a lot. Obviously, we've been speaking for like forever. It seems like. uh, just a recap, and obviously the keynotes are available up on YouTube to watch. They're up on CFcast as well, and we're gonna make those available on CFcast for free for people without the tickets to see, because obviously there's a lot of great news and information there.
Yeah, we always make the keynotes available to anyone because that's really just all the cool stuff going on. So you can go check it all out. I definitely recommend at least watching those. It'll give you some ideas of which rabbit holes you want to go climb down into for a while, learn about CBY or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think Brad also, covered it briefly, but I think the big thing, the big reason that especially next May you want to get your tickets early is because, CFML developers are part of a community. And sometimes that's easy to forget, right? Because we've got lots of different shiny new pennies out there, but it's good to get together with your community. You learn a lot, you get energized, and you always come back better for it.
Yeah, I don't think you can understate that, John. That's an amazing way to put it. Because I've seen in many years people will come to a conference kind of feeling down about Cold Fusion in general. Most of the people they work with might, talk bad about it. It's a dying language. You got to give that crap up. And they leave into the box being like, wow, like I have a different perspective now. There's a lot of modern stuff going on. There's a lot of, cutting edge technologies I can dig into that I'm not even taking advantage of. Why am I thinking about leaving, abandoning our Cold Fusion, investments? And so I love being able to, have people come in and just kind of exist inside that, space for a couple of days and get really energized about the stuff available to them right now in the CF world, which obviously we're proud to help, push along.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And then again, I know next year we're obviously we're trying to plan ahead more. We're getting those dates finalized very soon. We're going to do the call for speakers before the end of the year. Our goal is to try and get all that information out to you very soon, because we know people have budgets. They've got they got timelines they've got to request, travel and everything for. So we want to make sure that's available as early as possible. But we want to get that information out there as soon as possible. And then we're going to give perks as usual. If you're an early bird, man, you save like almost 50% if you buy your early bird tickets. So get in early, get the workshops at a great deal, get the conference at a great deal. And then we're going to be spicing it up a little bit. If you don't get all the videos from CFcast, we're going to make those available. We're going to try and give you like all the little extras we can to make it worthwhile, because the more tickets we sell earlier, the better we can plan for things, and make sure that we're again trying to make this 10th one the biggest, best yet. And I think that's probably the number one thing I'm hoping for next year is like get back to the crowds we've had before COVID. That'd be really great to get those numbers up again, because we had some good size, still cozy, but still a good number of in-person attendees. And that's
and we should also mention one of the other announcements we made was also our ITB Latam coming up as well in December. So if you're in Central or South America and it's not easy for you to make it up to the States for the normal End of the Box, we are totally planning our End of the Box Latam as well in El Salvador. So keep that on your radar if that applies to you as well.
Yep. I think we're still waiting on the final date, but I think it's going to be 5, 6, 7, one of those dates in December. So December 5th, 6th, or 7th, it'll be a one-day conference. I know some of the American team from Ortus is going to be traveling down there for that as well. And then so we have a nice range of speakers, content. It's going to be great again. So we're really excited. And the greatest thing I think about the LATAM conference is that they don't have the stigma of CFML. People are there learning about CFML for the first time or new, and they just they're amazed. They don't have all the negativity that people have with Cold Fusion, and it's Luis is it's so inspiring to see people just seeing the language about any pre-existing opinions, and they just love it, all the things you can do. So it's kind of nice, and it's kind of a cool thing.
They
Wish we had
pushed the
that.
heck out of it the last few years, and they were able to get quite a few people there. Like you said, many of which had never heard of Cold Fusion. And it's really sparked some activity down there, in Central America. They were working on, several new projects, closing deals to build sites for, large organizations down there in El Salvador. And I'm really excited about, the the advent of getting people excited about cold fusion in an area of the world where predominantly there really hasn't been any representation of it. So
Yeah, I mean PHP and Java were like the main thing. A lot of people there, we've got an oldest team of developers now down there, and a lot of them are converting over from Java. So they already know object orientation, and they've already got the background Java stuff, and they see CFML, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, so much easier. You can do so much more so quickly, and it's they're excited. So it's good
oh
to
yeah.
see that, and so
Yeah,
yeah.
the El Salvadorian team is really going strong down there. Not everybody is developers down there, but we have around 20 people in El Salvador, Ortus. Don't quote me on the exact number, but it's just quite a few people down there. And the developers we have, like you said, mostly all came from Java backgrounds or other languages, and it's exciting to see the conversion process there.
Yep. And we've got some QA people down there too, so they're getting, improving our QA processes and everything. So it's really cool to see what we're doing there. And that conference is a great place to, again, if you're in that area, definitely a good conference and a good way to mingle with some of the oldest team. And again, there'll be quite a lot of the American team down there, and all the El Salvadorian team will be there. So a big plus. So if you can't wait till next year in December, into the box of the town. And then obviously, if you guys are in America, CF Summit, we've got a good number of the oldest people going to be speaking there. Day one is basically you've got, I think it's Ortus, and like one track. It seems like there's 4 or 5 of us in a row. So like basically all day one is all Ortus, and the next day we can relax because all our presentations are over, and then we're getting ready for the workshop, which will be right after. So if you guys are at CF Summit, come check us out. I know Luis will be there, I'll be there, Brad will be there, Eric will be there, Daniel Garcia will be there. So it's a good number. Um, and yeah, we're going to have fun. And then the workshop right after, 2-day workshop diving into the Vue.js workshop. So basically the one I did into the box, but more detail, deeper dive, more hands-on. So 2 days to cover that. That'll be, a good workshop. So we're hoping we can see you guys there. And the Aria suite, Brad, you remember how nice those suites were, right? When we did them
Oh, super
before.
nice. Yep. Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely want to check out the training if you're going to be down there in Vegas. And I'm going to be there. I'm presenting at the CF Summit, so come check us out at the Ortus booth if you're there. And if you're not, I don't. Are tickets still on sale for it?
Yeah, we got tickets on sale, and I think the actual conference itself is still on the super super early bird. Adobe's trying to get as many people there as possible, so they've got that price, rock bottom price. Sure, their marketing budget's getting eaten up quickly, but yeah,
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's going to be a little bit smaller crowd, but this is their first time back since COVID, so I know that it was a struggle just to be able to get approval to make it happen. I'm just excited to be able to be there. So
yep, and that's their 10th CF Summit too, so it's a big deal for them as well. Their 10th CF Summit, so very cool. And it's just mentioning Scott in the chat here. He says he stated before, but he always feels like he gets a ton of value out of attending ITB from knowledge and the community. So it's again a lot of quotes like that. A lot of people saying how great it is, and a lot of people are like, you don't even need to use Coldbox to be there. I think Nolan mentioned in his that there was like a ton of sessions that weren't even like Coldbox related, and just a lot of great content, a lot of value out of it. So we're hoping everybody can get there next year. And again, CFcast videos are available for those with tickets. If you don't have a ticket, reach out and we'll get you a virtual attendee ticket taken care of. And then if you're a CFcast subscriber, you'll be able to access all that later in the year. Looking around at Christmas time for that. But yeah, I think we just had it's just a great conference. And what was your highlight, Brad? Just sort of one thing before we go. What was your highlight for the conference?
oh geez, I don't know the whole conference. My highlight I think was that it was a really good steak fajitas I had on like the second night or whenever that was. Maybe it was during Happy Box. That was some freaking had guacamole, man, and salsa. That food was good.
Yeah, that food was good. What about you, John? What's your highlight?
I think the highlight's always the same for me. It's just sort of being able to interact and just talk about things with other developers. It's seeing the excitement on people. I mean, I like there were some aha moments and conversations I had after my sessions with folks that were first of all, they made me feel good because people were excited about things that I was discussing or developing or teaching on. But I think that time, I mean, it really is. That's my favorite thing about ITB is just having that kind of interaction with other developers around the country. Slack is one thing, but it's nice to see people in person.
Yeah. I mean, for me, again, it's the people too. Like, it was a lot of great content, but yeah, I really liked, obviously, Ortus. We get together too, and it's good to see our team and be face to face as well. And we had a dinner and a couple things together. Apart from taping down cables for an evening or whatever, the other thing was, yeah, just being able to walk out into the hotel and like just walk into the restaurant and see a bunch of people. Like John Wilson and his son was there, and his son was in my workshop, and so you say hi to them, and then Nolan, and just being walked through and just talk to different people from the conference. It's just the venue was made it really good for that. And at the airport you'd see people, and it was just, yeah, I really really did enjoy that.
You mentioned taping down cables. I thought we had the most ubiquitous power strips that we've ever had this year. We went out and bought a bunch of new extension cords, and we had power plugs everywhere,
Yep.
which you want to see at a tech conference.
Yep, and we've already got a wish list, and we've got plenty of items. So we've got some improvements already there for next year. A lot more power strips because, of course, we want double the people in person as we had this year. So we want to get more people there. So we'll need more power strips, Brad. A lot more
You,
gaffer tape.
you,
Yeah,
you
I
can
mean, at
never
this point, we're buying our own like projector, large, huge projector screens. We've got like everything. I think we could do into the box on somebody's lawn if we wanted to at this point. You know,
probably that big screen we have actually has like tent stakes. You can put it outside, so
well,
make it
maybe we'll do
happen.
into the box movie night sometime. We'll just like put it up on the lawn somewhere. We'll do like a drive-in or something
Or
like that.
just open up Ortus AV, a new division where Gavin and I come out and run audio video for your in Javi.
Yeah, don't forget DJ Javi.
Oh
Yeah, we
yeah,
got
DJ Javi was there.
DJ Danny too. Like, he's got his own radio show on Sundays. He can come help us. But yeah, and that's the thing is, we wanted to make sure that everything is reliable, and so we've taken a lot of that on. And it doesn't matter which venue we're at now. Like, no matter where we go, we've got the setup. We know what we're doing. We know what we're working with. So we're streamlining that. But yeah, that screen was so good. We got another one on the wish list for next year to be both rooms, be super, super
Mhm.
big. Got another top quality projector on the list, and lots more power cables and stuff like that. So we're gonna keep mentioning and improving everything there. But again, I think it went really well. There's a lot of pros. On the other side of it, I see all the little negatives and things we can improve. But it was a great conference. I think, yeah, it was just amazing. And so we wanted to share that, and yeah, hopefully next year we can share it with even more people, and we bring it home, and the 10th one be amazing. So. Well, I think that's it for ITB 2022. We can put the cat back in the bag, shut the book on it, and we're already planning for 2023. So if you guys got any requests for workshops or requests for sessions, things you want to do differently, I mean, we got lots of ideas. We want to try and make Happy Box more interactive and more. I keep talking about my game show. I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna have lights. I'm gonna have buzzes. We're gonna do it. We're gonna up the stakes. So we got some ideas on that, because the mariachi band is awesome, but we want to we want to step it up a level. So,
And,
but
and we do pay attention to those suggestions for workshops. In fact, I think we primarily drove some of our workshop decisions off of community polls we did. So if you want to see a workshop next year on insert something here, you let us know because those votes count.
yep, for sure. I mean, I think, yeah, we had Brad doing command box, Eric doing quick and QB, or me doing the API and Vue.js one, and that one, the Vue.js and API, won the vote. And yeah, we actually had a full room of that one, so it was great to see the feedback. And again, we might even put out that closer to the end of the year, like, hey, these are the 10 workshops that we want to offer, and you guys help us pick the ones that we want to put on. So that's we know, again, you're right, Brad. We definitely listen to people. We want to make sure that we deliver what you guys want, and yeah, we're just excited to be able to make it happen. And again, thanks to the attendees, the speakers, the sponsors, and then obviously the ITB committee, a lot of people working a lot of hard hours behind the scenes to make it possible. So yeah. But I guess with that, we'll say thanks everybody, and we'll catch you all next year.
All right, peace out.
Bye.
Bye everybody.